Legacy Boxing Showcase sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions this Saturday, Route to Glory 2, June 23rd, Route 66 Casino. Ed Nunez along with Austin Colleen. And Austin, we've got Mike Alderete in studio. We'll have him on for a segment along with Max Heyman. And, they call this Route to Glory Bad Blood. And I know Max Heyman and Mike Alderete, they fought twice, and this will be the third fight that they faced each other. We'll get into that fight a little bit later. And there's also some outstanding bouts on this card. Austin, you've gone over them with us. You called in 6'10" on the mic with Mike Adams last Saturday and kind of broke some of these down. So you want to start with the first fight here between Josh Pitbull Torres and Christian El Puma Cabral. That's going to be quite an interesting match there.
Well, obviously, Josh has to be the favorite. He's fought probably 9 fighters who are better than anything Christian has fought. They have one common opponent, and Josh won the decision, and Christian, that was his only defeat. He got stopped on a TKO. So that was Joe Gomez. And Joe, by the way, has made a comeback, so he's paying very close attention to this fight. And the welterweight division locally is like the welterweight division nationally. It's loaded with talent.
It sure is. You got some welterweights bunched up on each other here. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, when Joe Gomez lost a split decision to Josh Torres, it was here in Albuquerque, and there was a lot of booing about the decision. It was a very competitive fight, a very close fight. I know when Christian fought Joe Gomez, he had some personal issues, and he just was off that night. Not taking anything away from Gomez's victory. He stopped him in the 5th round, but Cabral's head wasn't on his shoulders before the fight ever started.
One of the things that you mentioned, and you said this on 610, you called in, and you mentioned that Josh Pitbull Torres has a little bit more experience in the people that he's been in the ring with, the people that he's trained with, than Christian El Puma Cabral. What does Christian Cabral have to do in this big fight? Now, Josh Pitbull Torres took some punishment his last fight at Route 66 and Route to Glory 1. Now, what does Christian the Puma have to do to come out with a victory?
He has to have a left jab. If he doesn't, Josh Torres is going to be on him like a rash. He's got to have a jab, and he's got to stick it right in his face, and he's got to have good lateral movement. The one disappointment about Christian Cabral, despite his 4 knockouts and his 8 wins, they've all been TKOs. He's not a puncher. Danny Perez, the former super middleweight from Albuquerque, he has a theory. He feels that when Christian fights, he leans too far over his lead foot, so his center of balance, instead of going through his body, is in front of his body, and that costs him his power, because he's obviously physically very strong. But being physically strong and having a punch are not necessarily synonymous.
And sometimes it's those little nuances that you just talked about. By the way, ringside will be you, yourself, Adam Deal, and Daniel Pitbull Pettis on the call on Saturday for Route to Glory Bad Blood 2. And when you mentioned that, when Daniel Pitbull Pettis sees things like that, he took a short notice on a fight with Nigel Benn and gave Nigel Benn all he wanted back in 1989, I believe. Was it 90 and maybe early 90s?
It might have been early. But anyways, he fought in front of 70,000 people in Wembley Stadium in England. And it's ironic, but Danny Perez was overshadowed by Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero. They, for some reason, attracted all the attention because Danny Perez was a terrific fighter.
That's very interesting. Let's get into these other fights. We've got Alacrancito, Jason Sanchez against Danny Flores, and you mentioned that Alacrancito should make short work of Flores out of Mexico City.
You got me looking now at my. Which fight are we talking about here?
Jason Sanchez against Danny Flores.
Flores is a banger, but I think that Sanchez, his left jab, it's a battering ram. Santa Cruz has a beautiful left jab. He sticks it in your face, the featherweight champ, moves around, good lateral movement. But Sanchez, he actually has plaster of Paris on his jab. He's really trying to take you out with his jab.
Goes to the body well. Let's move on. We've got Aaron Angel Baby Pettis against George Roybal. Angel Baby Pettis with a record of 2-0, I believe, against George
Right.
Roybal of Albuquerque with a record of 0-4. You had mentioned that Angel Baby Pettis needed to step up in competition. Do you think this is a fight that he's done that?
It isn't. I think the fear with Angel Perez, he's got to step up. He's not your typical novice fighter. He should have probably been fighting Gene Perez's debut fight. I just go back to the 76 Olympics, Howard Davis and Sugar Ray Leonard. Davis picked his own opponents, and he fought nothing, and then he got a title fight and lost. Leonard was handled by Angelo Dundee, and every one of his fights was a war, and he just threw him in cold turkey his pro debut.
Think about the parallels there. Sugar Ray Leonard, one of the most decorated boxers in boxing history, and Howard Davis never was. Maybe should have. Never got to that point.
The only gold medalist who didn't win a world title.
Had some shots there, too. I remember some of the title shots he had. Let's move on. Austin Ronnie Mongoose Baca out of Albuquerque, New Mexico against Brandon Trujillo.
I just think the Mongoose, he just has too much power, good combination puncher. He'll overwhelm his opponent.
This fight has been canceled. Christian Castillo versus Jesus Acosta. That one has been canceled. Let's move on. And this fight interests me. Matthew Papitas Esquivel coming off a sensational knockout of Christopher Russell in November at the Fairgrounds. We were there. We were ringside for that against Tavoris Teague out of Sacramento, California with a record of 4-20. A little bit deceiving there.
Teague has suddenly gotten hot. He's got a win in a draw since he fought Christian Cabral. So I think that's going to be a surprisingly good fight.
Real quick, I think people might see that record, Austin, and think it'll be Papitas Esquivel, a sensational knockout of Christopher Russell after Esquivel himself was down. One last fight, Agustin El Chicano Perez against Ernesto Hernandez.
Well, Augustine Perez is the third Perez brother. He's a detective down in Roswell. I saw his pro debut. He's tough. He's got a lot of energy. He's starting late, turning pro. He's over 30. But he is very, very tough. So I would expect he will outwork his opponent.
We'll be back to Legacy Boxing Showcase after these messages.
Still on it. Rivas is going to have one. Takes the deflection, and it's 2-0. Great ball back in on the right foot, and it's Isaiah Madrid, and he's going to finish it. The one-timer back across by Quinn falling, and Madrid finishes. Falling on the cutback of the left foot, and he drills it. Terry Cosper Insurance Agency is a proud partner with Proview Networks and a proud supporter of New Mexico high school athletics. Terry's been a local farmer's agent for over 20 years for auto, home, life, and business insurance. Just like high school sports are important, so are teen drivers. For more information, call Terry or one of his licensed staff members at 898-5556. Quotes are available for you.
Carmody Medical provides solutions for your everyday needs. Hot and cold compression wraps provide therapeutic compression for the shoulder, hip, and knee. The therapy wraps are constructed of an insulated outer fabric and a ventilated cotton pocket to protect the body. Elastic belts allow mobility and deliver a gentle, adjustable compression. The reusable therapy packs can be removed from the pouch and placed into the freezer. Contact Jim for more information.
Transform your IT infrastructure with Systems MD.
We support all network devices.
Our focus? Government and small business network solutions. We provide design through implementation of network environments, including disaster recovery. Solutions can be provided directly or through CES contracts and statewide pricing agreements. Systems MD also provides all-inclusive managed service contracts and preventative maintenance plans.
Systems MD has been our best choice for all our computer system needs.
Contact us to discuss your IT needs.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Back to Legacy Boxing Showcase, sponsored by Legacy Boxing Promotions. I'm Ed Nunez along with Austin Killeen. To my left, Max Heyman with a record of 25-13. To Austin Killeen's right, Mike Alderete, a record of 7-7. They'll fight this Saturday, Route to Glory 2, Bad Blood. And Austin, in the first segment, you and I broke down the fights this Saturday. There's going to be some excellent bouts, some excellent matches. And I think people, the promotion, have been waiting for Max Heyman and Mike Alderete this fight. That's one that's much anticipated. You want to start off the questions first with Mike Alderete to your right.
Well, I have a question for both of you. When you first turned pro, you're excited, but you're kind of naive. But what was that first fight that you had when you said, hey, I'm actually pretty good here. I can do this.
It wasn't Max's first fight, I'll tell you that. It was after I started off undefeated, 5-0, and then I took a fight. I got robbed in Colorado. And then right after I took another fight of an undefeated fighter, 15-0. And I beat him pretty easily in his hometown. And right after that, I said, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. Let's fight whoever. It don't matter to me. And when I actually fought that guy, it was Gustin Tudor was a promoter, and I was down there backstage, and he said, Albuquerque, New Mexico, huh? Home of Max Heyman. I said, nah, that ain't home of Max Heyman. I said, it's home of Mike Alderete. And ever since that day, I wanted to fight him.
And same question for you, Max.
Well, I grew up fighting. I was just telling that over here is that I've been fighting since I was a kid. My sport of choice and my best fighting sport was kickboxing. And that's what I made my name for initially, was a Muay Thai kickboxer. I was a Muay Thai national champ. And it's kind of hard to sit there and to point to one specific fight that I had that said I belong, because I was sparring with some of the best world champions that we had in Albuquerque at the time, because Albuquerque was a big hotbed for kickboxing, originally with martial arts and then merged into the kickboxing and now MMA. And so I was sparring with all those guys, Mike Winklejohn, Fernie Caeros, Rudy Lovato, all those guys that were big kickboxing champions back when I was a kid. And so I kind of grew up with just the understanding that I did belong, at least in the kickboxing world first and foremost. And then when I made the switch over to boxing when I was in high school, made the switch over to boxing, I believe the first occasion where I was like, oh, I belong, this is where I belong, was probably in sparring. I was out in Vegas, I was sparring with a couple of the world champions or top contenders, and I was holding my own. And I was 17 years old, 18 years old, and I was doing really, really well against guys that were legit top 5 or world champions. I was like, hey, this is where I belong. This is my sport right now.
Any
And,
names you want to drop there?
Oh, there's a lot of names. I mean, if you mention a name at 168 or above from the late 90s on, I spar with them at some point or another. And you know, it doesn't matter if it's Hopkins or if it's Chuanuka or Montel Griffin. I spar with all of them at some point or another.
Wow. Let me get a question in here for Mike Alderete first, and I'll ask Max a question. Mike, you know, you haven't fought since, I believe, 2012?
Yes, 2012. was
And
my
you,
next
you,
fight.
you 7-7. Your last fight was against Mike Wilson at the Seven Feathers Hotel and Casino in Canyonville, Oregon. But unanimous, you lost on a unanimous decision there. Why the long layoff? And I'm going to probably ask Max the same thing. It's been a while, so what was the thing to get you back in the ring? What made you want to get back in? That's again, boxing is science and a lot of nuances, and you have to work, and So what made you want to get back in the ring?
There's a bunch of different factors in there that came into play. First of all, I think Legacy Promotions, they're awesome. They're probably one of the best promoters I've ever worked with. Really supportive, and they're really good people. First thing was, Max. We've tried it a couple times. It didn't work, and I wasn't really sure back then or whatever. But regardless, it didn't work. But it worked now. It worked now. It was a perfect time. I lost my brother in August. I had made a promise to my mom a long time ago, and this is the first opportunity that I ever got to fight for any sort of belt. I fought in champions before too. Actually, with the fight that got me motivated for this, the question that Austin asked earlier. The guy was a Muay Thai fighter too. He was a world champion Muay Thai fighter, and I enjoyed beating up those Muay Thai fighters. Dewey Cooper.
Oh yeah, Dewey.
Yeah. So, I like beating up them kickboxers. Especially when they're right next to me. But
I never kickbox anybody.
This fight hasn't needed a lot of promotion. We appreciate you guys being in studio here today, and then the last Route to Glory bout at Route 66. My good friend Mike Adams had to get in between you guys, and thankfully no fireworks happened then. We expect some on Saturday. But Max, the same question to you. You've been out of the ring for a while. What prompted you to want to make a return? Was it just to fight Mike Alderete, or maybe what's on the horizon for Max Heyman if you win this fight?
First things first is that neither of us are spring chickens. We're getting old. Okay, so to sit there and say any type of plan after this fight would be doing myself a disservice, because I'm not exactly a young man. So anything could happen. I could break a hip falling, go into the ring at this occasion. So I'm not looking at anything beyond this fight, just this fight right now. Now, if this fight goes well and it goes according to how I would like it to go, and I feel healthy and strong, then maybe I consider another fight afterwards. That's the answer one part of your question. The other part is I've been out of the ring for 4 years now. And the biggest reason why my career came to halt in the first place was injury. And I've been dealing with a lot of injuries. I was in a car accident when I was training out in Las Vegas back in 2002, where I got hit by an 18-wheeler on the freeway, and that really messed up my back. And I was unable to train effectively, even though I had plenty of fights. During that time, I was unable to train effectively, and that's pretty much what brought my career to halt. So my career never stopped because I wanted it to stop. It stopped because of limitations that I had physically. And now my body is feeling pretty good. I'm getting back to where I used to be, and I wanted to give it one last shot, have some fun with it, but one last shot before I get too old physically to do this. Now, it just came about with Mike. We've had 2 fights before, and I have a lot of respect for Mike. The guy's as tough as they come. We know that, okay? And he's going to bring a good fight to Albuquerque, and if this should be my last fight, then I want it against a guy that I respect, that I know is going to bring it, and it's going to be right in my face, and is not going to let it back down. And that way we give the fans a good show, we give the city of Albuquerque a good show, and it really shows me where I'm at, if my body is able to handle that or not. And so when the opportunity came about to take this fight, and we had been discussing this off and on for the last couple of years, Legacy Promotions, what was it, back in March, with that fight back in March, and I came to a head right there, and I was like, okay, my body feels good, I'm ready to do this fight, so let's go. And it all came
40,
to
right? You're about.
I am. I'm pushing 40,
Okay,
so
I'm sorry, man.
I'm not exactly a young man anymore, and that's something to consider. I have kids as well, and military is important to me. I'm a firefighter with the Albuquerque Fire and Rescue Department, so my career path is already set beyond this. This is something that I wanted to do because I owed it to myself to get back in the ring one last time, now that my body is feeling somewhat better.
Okay, Austin, it's the rubber match between, you guys have both won one decision, so you probably want to get into the meat and potatoes of the fight coming up this Saturday.
Well, I think of Cher. She's been doing a retirement tour now for a decade. If your fight is exciting, and I think it could be, because both of you have made weight 2 weeks ago. If this fight's exciting, I have a feeling people are going to want a fourth fight. Are we too ahead of the curve here?
It might be a little premature, but it's something that, depending on what happens on this fight, depending on how we both feel, and depending on the animosity that still exists between the two of us, because I can tell you this, and this is kind of somewhat joking, but not really, is that Mike and I don't like each other. All right, we're sitting across the tables right now. We have smiles on our face right now. We're being professional. But believe me, if you saw me in the back alley somewhere, the lights were down, and vice versa, we'd be taking it to each other.
If you turn off the lights right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably won't do that, but
I can tell you right now.
Walk around
Yeah, so I'll tell you right now, we're getting old. We understand that. I think I got you by a couple of years, but we're getting old. But I can tell you right now that if I'm 80 years old and I'm sitting there walking across the street with my walker, and I see him and his walker across the street over there, I'm doing my best to get over there and try and beat him, all right?
I will definitely trip him.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't like each other, and I can tell you right now that should this fight prove what the first two proved, that and they want to talk about a fourth fight, is something that I think we both would consider.
And
Mike, am I wrong?
I respect for fighter, I respect Max also. But, all that respect will be in the ring, and, we're going to leave it all out there. And there's no... I'm gonna take it to him. I've trained so hard where depending how the fight goes, I'm okay with it, because I'm not gonna have no regrets with myself. And that's the biggest thing is, I'm gonna win. I want to win. But depending how the fight goes, I'm okay with it, whatever happens. And if he wants to do it again, I'll do it again. We can put the boxing gloves on the wheelchairs if he wants.
Mike, I want to ask you this. You lost Max won the first one. You lost.
No, it was reverse.
Okay. So, what do you have to do to come out? Is there anything without tipping your complete hand in the ring? What do you have to do to come away with the victory against Max on Saturday? Max Heyman on Saturday.
Knock him out. I want to knock him out. He's definitely going to see something he's never seen before. I know we got a little bit wiser. I got a little bit older, but got a little wiser and a little bit more hunger built inside of me. And he hasn't seen a Mad Mike that's in shape. And he's seen a Mad Mike that was not in shape. And it's going to be a different story coming on Saturday.
Max Heyman, same question for you.
Well, we can sit up here all we want and sit there and say, hey, he's never seen this, he's never seen that. We've both been fighting our whole lives. We've seen it all before. And whatever I present, Mike's already seen before. So the key for me, based off of my style of fighting, based off of Mike's style of fighting, is to box. He knows that, that's no secret. The key for him is to put pressure on me. And so the key battle on this fight is whether or not I could box him enough to keep his pressure at bay, or if he could put the pressure on me to wilt my boxing ability and to put me into a corner. It's not rocket science, it's fighting. He knows what he needs to do, I know what I need to do. And I know he's hungry, I'm hungry. It's been a lot of years since I've been in the ring, and I miss it, and I love it, and I'll speak for Mike as well. When you get in the ring, and this is how you grew up, this is what you do, this is what you are, it's tough to leave. It's really tough to leave. I don't like it. In 4 years, I've been sitting there wanting to get itching back in the ring. And before that, I was off for another couple years. Before we fought the first time, I was off for almost 3 years. Like I said, mostly injury-induced. But in all those layoffs that I had, it builds that hunger to sit there and say, I want to get back in the ring. This is where I belong. This is what I love to do. I love to get up there. I love to perform. And I also, likewise, and this is giving some tip off, my hat off to Mike, is it doesn't do me any good to go into the ring, as Mike was talking about a few minutes ago, to fight a guy that's a bum. It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't make me feel good to knock out a guy that anybody can knock out. It makes me feel good to beat a man that comes to fight and puts it all out in the ring. And Mike does that. And that's what I love about this. And that is honor.
Makes you spill your bucket out there.
Makes you spill it all out and puts it to a head. And if he shows up ready to fight and ready to take it to the end. I show up ready to fight, ready to take it to the end. The crowd's going to love it, number one. Number two, we're going to have a good fight. And regardless of whether it's HBO or not, or whether it's no TV, is that we have those memories for the rest of our life, and so does the fans. And that my friend, is why we do this sport.
Austin, you got about 2 minutes left, so I don't know if you want to wrap it up with questions for each of them.
Well, if you saw Max's comment on my storyline, he has your soul in his side pocket, and for some reason he wants to maintain possession of it. How's this?
Well, then, if he thinks he has it, then I'm going to come get it from him.
That's right.
That's all there is to it. He better wear his non-holy pants that day. He better make sure he has his good pants on.
That's good. One last question for Max.
I'll tell you right now, I got it by front pocket, so it's right here. So come and get it. That's all I'm gonna say. Come and get it, because
I've also been to jail too. I know how they. I don't know. I know how to take it.
Listen, whatever you did in jail, the privacy of your own jail cell is your business, my friend.
One last comment, gentlemen. I got to ask you guys this, because they've said, I watched boxing. Austin's watched it, and usually when guys spill it all out there against each other once, twice, there's a mutual respect. Does that exist between you two? It seems like it does, but you're really going to tell me that if you do see each other when you're 75, 80, that animosity would still be there? You're really going to tell me that? Max, you first.
I have a lot of respect for Mike, because he shows up. We don't like each other going back to when we first fought. We understand that. We have some bad blood between us. The moniker on the fight is 100% correct. We do have bad blood. We don't like each other, but I have tremendous respect for him, because he brings the fight. He does not wilt. He does not back off. He is there to fight. He's head first right there. And as much as I respect that, doesn't mean I have to like him. And 80 years from now, if we're sitting there in our strollers or our wheelchairs, I'm still not going to like that. I'm still going to respect him. But I'll sit there and I'll try and ram him.
Still try to ram him.
Yeah, we don't like each other. And I think Mike will tell you the same thing.
I'll buy him a beer, and then when he turns around, I'll smack him
Whap
back
him
in the head.
Austin, one last comment about the whole Route to Glory 2 Bad Blood. One last comment.
I think it's going to be a great card. Neighborhood grudge fights should happen more often. They sell tickets. And too many of the fighters here in Albuquerque don't want to fight each other. They want to beat up on the same third guy from out of town.
I think it's going to be great. I think you're right. So, gentlemen, I want to thank again Max Heyman,
Thanks, sir.
Mike Alderete, Austin Killeen, for producer Josh Brown, cameraman Dana Childs. I'm Ed Nunez. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of the Legacy Boxing Showcase.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that could happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all, or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, #life change will occur.